Okay, so looking ahead, obviously, a few people are unsure about what's ahead. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening in Sweden at the moment from a cricket perspective, which are out of SCF's control at the moment. What we're focusing on is trying to get the best cricketing opportunities, experiences, and development programs in place in order to see successful players playing for Sweden. So, part of my job is the national program is to develop good coaches who are going to be part of the national program, but also have the ability to impart knowledge, um, to get players better. We're going to roll out some open trials, and then also what that looks like is give people an opportunity and a transparent opportunity to showcase their skills. And obviously, around that, there has to be some criteria in terms of eligibility, and obviously availability, etc., etc. So we need to make sure that there's some criteria around these open trials. What I'm looking to do is hopefully roll out some masterclass sessions with some experienced professionals, but also some ex-players who are willing to come to Sweden and look at batting, bowling, fielding, etc. in terms of them disciplines. We're looking at strong home and away series to develop our skills of our players right from our juniors, which also now in the future we'll be looking at years younger than under 19s, from the men's and women's, and also looking at our development squads to go away and practice and play and nurture experiences whilst the national teams are also playing as well. We're looking at developmental contracts for our development players, which also includes commitment towards the national program, also from a fitness point of view, and obviously looking at performance criteria, which is wrapped around appraisals. We're also looking at developing a code of conduct agreement for our players, which obviously brings hopefully a little bit of discipline, and also realigns our ability to work as a team and a unit effectively under certain constraints, to make sure that we're living the professional life. We've got some great opportunities with ICC for the women's next year, and then obviously hopefully we're just waiting on some news for the juniors and the men's. We've also got some Nordic information in terms of the matches that are coming along for next year. So that calendar of activity will be published soon. And one of the other things is obviously the big thing in the world is to try and bring some franchise collaboration to Sweden and its players. So hopefully give young players the platform from a men and women's perspective to go out and play in these franchise opportunities. We've got a great example in Gunjan, who's obviously playing the fair break. She's representing Sweden. I would like to hopefully challenge some of the men's players and also the under-19s to hopefully capture on this opportunity. So we can grow our base, but more importantly, give a platform to the world in order to see our players as well. So looking ahead, these are the things that are happening, and I've only been in the job 2 months. So hopefully that will just get better and stronger. Okay, any questions? Has anybody got any questions in terms of what you've heard, what you've seen? I'm happy to take questions.
Hi, my name is Naveed. I just want to ask you, Kasim. I mean, everything
Naveed.
you went through, it was very good. And for the first time, somebody has taken the trouble to do something like that for us, all of us. Thank you very much for that. But the thing is, have you seen the environment the cricket is being played in Sweden? How do we develop the youngsters, and how do we develop the women's team with no facilities available?
Yeah, Naveed, thank you for your question. I really appreciate it. And I completely resonate with what you're trying to say to me. It's difficult. I'm not going to lie to you. It is difficult. Facilities and resources are challenged across Sweden. Working hard in the federation to make sure that we've got a development program in place for our clubs. We're trying to develop our coaches. Hopefully, we'll be rolling out some sessions for our coaches and masterclass sessions for coach development, but also club development. You spoke about the women's. Actually, the next webinar, which I will come on to, is a women's development webinar. So something similar to this, oriented just for the women. But yeah, resources are a bit of a challenge. Can we get indoors? Can we use the best, usage of facilities? I've just signed a document to go over to our Nordic neighbours to take young girls to go and develop their skills and work effectively around there, which is obviously something for next year. We need to play more indoor cricket. We need to play more outdoor cricket. We need to get the basics of, what we're looking for from a development point of view. But we also need an area that we can work in. Yes, if you've got a surface that's, clear, if it's an outdoor surface, an indoor surface, and hopefully, you can utilize that. But if that's not there, I would love for you to just drop me an email and see how we can support you in your particular area. Can you do that for me, Naveed?
Yeah, sure. Just send me the email address. I mean, I will just pop it up.
Sure. Just
a mail for you. I mean, the thing is, basically, the discipline and everything else has to come from a very young age. When you start teaching them cricket, I mean, discipline is part of the game, and it's a very, very important part of the game. And yes, it will always be challenging. And the more they travel, the more you realize how to handle them, and they realize how to handle themselves.
Yeah, Naveed, you're 100% correct. You touched on resources as the first point. We're touching on obviously coaching disciplines, and that's an easier element than the resources to sort of factor in, which is around culture. So part of what I'm looking to do as well is work with the coaches to try and get a development program in place to speak the common language, the same message across Sweden, so we can challenge the language in terms of getting the right message across, but also on how to develop young players and bring them through our performance program. So just drop me an email. I would love to sort of answer this question a little bit more detail and hopefully guide you in the right way. And at some point in the summer, which I'm going to come on to in a second, I'm going to be doing some visits to cricket clubs. So I will come and support your training sessions, or come and at least support you and mentor you as a coach to sort of get a better understanding on how we can do certain things. So just drop me an email. I'll give you an email. We can work collaboratively together to support your question.
Thank you very much. I will drop you an email. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Naveed. Thank you.
Okay, we had a raised hand that I saw was taken down. If you change your mind, Anukul, then raise your hand again. There is a question in the chat, and the question is for you, Kasim. Do we know when there will be open trials? Yes, so to get people time to, plan vacation accordingly and everything.
Yeah, fantastic question. And this is something that I will be publishing over the next couple of weeks in terms of times and locations, so we can get enough information out there for people to have, so they can plan effectively. And this isn't just one location in the whole of Sweden. This is going to be multiple locations on my travels to go and see individuals. And it's an open door policy for anybody to come in, as long as obviously you're eligible, you've got a visa, you can play hardball cricket, etc., etc. So watch this space. I will hopefully have that information too.
Okay, and then there's a question from Anukul. It's a raised hand, so please turn on your mic and ask the question, Anukul.
Thanks, Monica. Hi, Kasim. Thank you so much.
Hi, Anukul.
Thank you very much for the pathway and sharing the intricacies of what players could work towards. It is crucial for youngsters and coaches alike that would help them plan the development at the grassroots level. My question is, to supplement this, are there any thoughts about any pop-up regional workshops, maybe to inspire and share these finer pathway and coaching points might benefit players and coaches alike?
Yeah, great question, Anakul. I really appreciate it. Yes, there is some thought process around regionally going to support coaches to develop the pathway in your particular club, but also within your particular region. What I'm looking to do is hopefully support the coaches physically by going down there next summer and seeing the competition and seeing the opportunity to develop coaches and support coaches, but also support the cricket club. Work on club development in the new year. Hopefully we will touch on these activities and hopefully by then we'll have some dates in terms of where we're going and what we're doing. But the key thing is, yes, it's a collective approach. We have to have a bottom-up approach in this, in trying to make sure that we're all working together to try and get the same messages, the same language, the same clear program, and then obviously give everybody transparency to effectively do well.
Thanks.
Anakul, does that help? Does that help?
It does. And just to comment about what Naveed was also asking you earlier, I think infrastructure is definitely a talking point, in this country. But these workshops or just having more knowledge in the regions might also help to tailor these, the coaching sessions also for different areas, different halls, winters, indoors, and also definitely outdoors. So looking forward to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Anakul, and to Naveed and Anakul and everybody else that's listening. This webinar came about from obviously the knowledge of SCF, but also a survey that we did recently that actually clubs wanted more information, and we want to help as much as possible, but we also need to know what clubs also need. So what I would say is, if you are got some information that you would like more of, please, my email will be coming up at the end of this. We are looking to address every single question that is out there, or concern or issue, or potentially a suggestion that you would like to see more of, like Anakul's just suggested there, or Naveed. We want to take that on as much as possible, but also develop the opportunity to keep it consistent and not just for one season.
I saw a raised hand from Fatima, but it went down. But we have a raised hand from Johan again. So welcome, Johan.
Hi, Kasim. Sorry for bothering you. Yes, Johan again. Do you believe that competitive environment, cricketing environment, competitive cricketing environment in Sweden will increase the standard of the cricket in Sweden? Opening up the opportunities for the international players. The players from the other countries to join with the club cricket will increase the standard of the cricket in Sweden.
Thank you for that question. I think, like I said, best v best competitively will increase the standard of cricket, whether that's under 19s, women's, regional cricket, or domestic cricket, or our national team players. As long as you're playing best v best, you're constantly trying to improve your skills. There is absolutely no point playing best v worst because that's just a mismatch. And often the best cricket and the best skills on show and the talent on show is when we do get best v best competition. So I strongly urge that as much as possible, to have that as a core development focus in your development program.
Okay, thank you. Then I give the word to Fatima.
Hi, Kasim. My question was, besides the sessions for the recruiting for the team, are we going to have any trainings like for the development squad?
Yes, thanks, Fatima. Really appreciate your question and hope you're doing well. Yes, we are. There is plans to get the development squads together. So those that are just coming onto the back of this conversation, underneath the national team players of 13, there will also be additional 11 players, which will make the squads to 24. And these 11 will be part of the development squad. the development squad's criteria or eligibility or opportunities are to obviously replace the guys from the national team or the ladies from the national team, but strong enough. So during this period, Fatima, obviously it's a winter period. There's nothing structured, organized just yet. But what I would urge you to do is strongly work on your game individually, and that goes for all the players that are looking to get better and hopefully compete for a national team.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any more raised hands or anything, but okay, maybe we have in the chat group. Let's see. So there's another question about SPL and GPL, and perhaps even LPL, which is the ladies' Premier League. Will the one regional team contain of the best players from that region or from the whole of Sweden? I assume that I assume that had to do with that we did a mix up the last time. That was not regional teams.
No, that's not a regional team. So as far as my understanding was, the guys who came to SPL were selected based on their squads, based on their skills and also their performances. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that will also be there. But part of this is, I'm not sure who's asked the question, but part of this is to eliminate, this particular factor is we don't get a look in because we only scored so many runs or we took so many wickets and we don't get a look in. Yes, there will be an SPL element where we play best v best, but we're also looking at going into the regions to try and get better scouting and networking opportunities to allow players then to be selected for these performance environments, not just for SPL, but there will be other invitational games where we will compete with, best v best in the region, North, South, and the Midlands. And I did this towards the back end of the games, but also to help our teams prepare as well. So if you miss out on SPL for whatever reason, you also have other opportunities to showcase your skills.
Thank you so much for that. I think that answers the question, but if you want more, okay, cool, thanks is the reply here. So that's really good. Thank you. We still have some time. We have 8 minutes remaining on the scheduled time for this webinar. So please feel free if you want to ask any more questions, or if you want us to go back to the presentation, if there was something you wanted to ask in relation to that, I'm happy to share it again. Okay, there's a new question here from Abhijit. Will fitness be used as a filter for the SPL aspect?
Good question, Abhijit. Yes, it will be. Fitness, if you're not fit enough to play SPL, highly unlikely going to be fit enough to move forward. So we will be looking at fitness elements to play SPL cricket, but obviously then we will be filtering out players who are not ready to move up into that sort of development stage, and that's where the matchups will start to come in. So I hope people understand the element of matchups. If your fitness is compared to somebody who's taken 5 wickets or 3 wickets, for argument's sake, once in the week, and has a really poor fitness score compared to somebody who's bowling consistently well and has a really high element of yo-yo scores and fitness levels and competes really well, but is fit enough to have the demands, are more likely to probably take the second one.
Okay,
hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I believe that answered Abhijit's question. Otherwise, feel free to write another question. We still have a few minutes. Let's see. I got something else here. Personal opinion and a question followed by that. Do we have plans on improving the game with the longer format being the prime one?
Very, very good question. I'm not sure who's asked this question, but very good question. There's 2 elements to this objective. There's one element, which is the ICC qualifications, and we want to play, eventually at some point, we want to aim to play 50-over cricket, but in the immediate future, I'm not sure what that looks like in the men's department, but for the women's and obviously the juniors, there is a junior activity that's happening next year through the Nordic as an opportunity to nurture our players to play the longer format. And that also develops skill, but also technique, but also puts pressure on. And we see players over a long period of the game, as opposed to the very short format. And then in between, what often happens is the next step up, we tend to go towards the shorter format. So there needs to be a development phase that we need to get right internally in order to continue developing our desire to play long formats of the game. So it's a two-part answer, and hopefully it does require a bit of time to sort of get that right. But yes is the question. Yes is the answer to your question. We do have desire to develop the 50-over game across all our cricket pathways.
Okay, so another question from Gunjan. Is there a tentative date when the next year plans will be shared so that everybody can plan the calendar? And that maybe I can also answer that. We have collected a lot of the dates that we want to share with all of you. It's not we have not finalized the information package in which it will go out. It's a lot of focus now on preparing for next season. It's a lot of information that has to go out to teams and clubs about that. And at the same time, we are filling up with the dates and everything in relation to fitting in. We have just last week, both Kasim and I participated in a meeting with our Nordic plus neighbor countries and federations. So we got more and more dates in the calendar that we have to, make sure that we adjust them to fit the league schedule also. So we have some minor adjustments to do before we can go public with it, but we are aiming for having a delivery within a few weeks. Maximum, I would say 2 weeks.
Yeah, correct. And sorry, just to add on to that, Monica, obviously the high performance program for the national teams from my perspective, there's a lot of invites that are coming along. There's a lot of tournaments that are happening. We need to get the calendar right. The main focus next year will be on the women's because they've got an ICC qualification tournament, and obviously the development girls program. Not to sort of take the eye off the men or the youth, but just like this year, the men and the youth had more of the focus. Obviously next year it's about the women, but we have got some competitive fixtures involved for the men's and the under-19. So I will have this calendar of activity out, and I'm constantly working on trying to get that right so that we can build up into our competition phase, but then also go through the competitions and make sure that both the national team and the development team have got competitive cricket.
And not to ruin the friendly climate in this webinar, but we are in the office. We are actually hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. So we never know, if there will be any consequences of whatever is going on domestically from the perspective of ICC. But we are planning for everything to be running just as smoothly as we are hoping for. But that's also an aspect. So we have a couple of questions. First, a raised hand from Eric. So Eric, you may ask a question.
Yes, hello Kasim.
Hi Eric.
Thank you very much for a really good presentation. It's nice to see a fantastic structure for the future. I'm just thinking about how we could filter that down to the club level, because we obviously as a club we want to have the same criteria, and we also want to make sure that we fall in line with what the criteria are for the national team. So if that could be some kind of presentation for a club level, I think that would be really good to get the perspectives, that we could sort of have that pathway so everybody knows when they join our club, okay, this is the values and these are the things that we stand for, and this is the national team's values, that we are in line. That would be really great for us.
Eric, fantastic point, and I hope you're wintering well, mate. So yeah, absolutely key focus of mine is to try and get this message out to the clubs now after these webinars, and hopefully get the like I said, the language in instilled in the clubs so that they have the common language that's going across the clubs across Sweden. So yes, I can send this presentation out, but I also will put up a development program in place that we can send out, hopefully, to support the clubs, but also support the coaches as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great.
Thank you. And let me add to that that is one of our key goals from the office, that we will all work towards one goal, all of us, and use the same language and support each other with the things, because if we have the same setup, it's so much easier to offer support when we recognize the process. And it really shouldn't be a difference if you are a player on a club level or if you're a player on the national team level, on what are the key factors that are, you know, affecting the way you play or perform.
Yes.
So that being said.
Yes, Monica, adding to that, that's great. Adding to that as well, it would be nice to see a plan because I think Navid touched to that, especially our you know, how we have it. I mean, we don't have any real facilities, etc. It would be really nice also to see a plan from the office, how we should move forward to make sure that we get better facilities. So that would be highly appreciated as well, to see what plan SCF have for the clubs to increase the facilities for further for the year or for the next couple of years. That would be helpful as well, Monica.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah. So here's a question from the chat from Daniel. There's a question about will there be average or number of runs score be a deciding factor, because very often the middle order or lower middle order batsmen don't have high average, and they usually don't end up in the top of the table.
Yeah, Daniel, fantastic question, and I can definitely resonate your question there, because you know, I was a number 4 or 5 batsman and sometimes never got a look in. So you know, it's not easy. What hopefully will help me answer this question is, this is the reason why we've got the element of the scouts and these open trials in place. So we start to look away. While stats are important, but they're not always accurate in terms of what they shows about the players. Yes, they can give us some statistical analysis, but deep down they don't show us the true quality of the player under pressure. So what I would like to do is hopefully use the transparency of open trials, our scouting network, our regional sessions, our open invitation sessions, hopefully will allow everybody the opportunity to naturally come and play and showcase their skills. And at that point, you're either good enough to move forward, or you're unfortunately not good enough, and we need to get a program in place for you to highlight and get better. So hopefully that would you know, eliminate, you know, unfortunate activities where there's a lot of favoritism, always the first person batting, always the second person batting, get the high, you know, percentage of scores in a club, and when it gets to, you know, competition time, you know, number 4, 5, 6, and 7 don't get an opportunity. So you know, or they don't have stats to sort of back up their potential. So hopefully this will get rid of that element of you know, unbiased statistics.
I do have some more questions. I can see on the clock that we have passed the time, but I believe that if you are staying in the meeting, I know that you will stay, Kasim. So if you are staying in the meeting, I think you don't mind us taking it over. So there is a raised hand from Raghu. So feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Kasim. Thanks for a wonderful presentation.
Thanks,
yeah, I'm one of an umpire for SCF. I'm not a player. So my question, I mean, I was part of last league forum discussion, and I understand from Monica and Lady that there is a clear plan for 2023 for the umpire from ICC perspective. But then my question is, if an umpire want to be part of a national appearance, is there any roadmap, or do you see any development roadmap that can be developed for SCF as well?
Raghu, thank you very much for your question. Really appreciate it, and you're probably one, if not the most important official on the pitch. So there is absolutely need for umpires to step up to the game. Obviously, the game is, in my opinion, short of good umpires, especially domestically and locally. But we're also looking at developing opportunities for our umpires to manage more or be part of our performance program. So when national representative sides are competing or playing against Nordic teams or any international teams, I would like to develop a circular of core contacts who are effectively the best umpires in Sweden that can obviously come on and support our national framework. So yes is the answer to that. If you're looking to step even further than just within Sweden, there's plenty of contacts in England. If you could go across and nurture that experience, I'm happy to put you in touch with that. That's not a problem. But there is a pathway for our umpires, and we will be putting coaching courses, umpiring courses in place soon enough. So obviously, I've crossed you, so I do apologize. But please let me know what kind of level you're at, what kind of experience you're looking for, and I will definitely guide you in the right way.
Yeah, Qasim, then I can write back to you if you can share my mail. Then we can
Sure.
interact in that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me also add to that we mentioned that in the legal forums that we will shortly go out with just another questionnaire asking questions on taking sort of like an inventory of the educational need on an individual level in terms of coaching, but also umpires, because we want to offer umpire courses and coach courses, education, pre-season in the beginning of the year, January, February, latest March. So that will happen also within the next few weeks. We are quite busy in the office right now. So I'm going to add we have a few more questions here in the chat. So is there any plan to collaborate with ECB County for national team in various categories where joint training can be held with a matching team or similar skills? This way we can leverage ECB infrastructure.
A great question, and that's definitely high-flying sort of vision. So part of the franchise element is I would like to get the national team traveling to our closest countries, particularly getting a county experience in England. But we have to have a national structure in place in order to get that behind the touring experience. And obviously playing experience, we have to make sure that we have our own sort of in-house activity set up first. But there's nothing stopping us going to England, playing games against Lancashire, Yorkshire, Warwickshire, etc. But it's all around the vision and the purpose of the tour. Obviously, around that, it also requires a little bit of sponsorship and funding, which obviously, given the recent activities in Sweden, we are starting to take a hit. And unfortunately, with this hit, this is what happens. The high-flying thought processes and the planning takes a backward step, unfortunately. So I'm more than happy to organize that. I can put that in the schedule for next year. I'm more than happy to look at that. But obviously there's a bit of work that needs to go around it. And if there is a potential sponsor in this chat or somebody who knows who could sponsor that or add to the contributions towards that, I would happily have that discussion.
Thank you, Qasim. We have one final question. It's our friend Johan again. Is there any pathway for players from outside Sweden to join with the clubs to play tournaments?
Johan, I think you're on a mission to get outside players to come and play in Sweden. They're more than welcome to come and play. But like I said to you, it's not just a one-stop shop that they can come in. If you want to bring a touring team into Sweden to play against domestic teams, that's not a problem. If you want, obviously, bring individuals to come and play, there's obviously a criteria around that for eligibility and obviously registration. This is not the forum, but I can pass you on to our club development officer who can help support you with the registration. I'm sure there's teams or clubs or club members in this webinar who would probably like to get new players on board, and I'm sure you can touch base with them individually. That's not a problem at all. But experienced players coming from a different part of the world into Sweden is an open invitation for everybody, as long as the criteria around it supports you to play. And I think there is a certain waiting period before you can actually be a national player. So coming to live in Sweden is not a problem. Coming to obviously work, you need a visa, etc. And there's criteria around that. But to play cricket, obviously there is a criteria around that. So hopefully I can guide you in the right way once we're off this line.
So and now I have a raised hand from Wynan. Before I give you the floor, Wynan, I will at the same time when you ask the question, Wynan, I will share Kasim's last picture so you can all see his email address and everything. And I think maybe that will be the closing question from Wynan, and then we will thank you for a nice evening, because now we are 10 minutes past closing time. So please feel free, Wynan, and ask your question.
Good, thank you, Monica. Hi, Kasim. Just wanted to find out from you, maybe you mentioned it, maybe I missed it, but since we don't have the, let's say the ICC eligibility for the longer format for the men's, is there perhaps an option to rather extend the T20 season for the men's, unless it is a requirement to have the longer format to basically get eligible to play national games in the longer format? And then the same for the juniors. I know that they've been playing their international games 50 overs, but they haven't had any experience on 50 overs. Is there a way we can get them some local matches in 50 overs?
Yeah, good question there, Leonard. And the preparation for the juniors in terms of 50-over cricket has already started. Obviously, they played 50 overs earlier this year. I know Rajan, who was a coach at the time, he took them out to Denmark and got some 50-over practice games in there. We will be doing the same into next period. As you well know, anything to do with the competition element going forward will allow us to prepare teams effectively. So obviously looking into Nordic teams first and foremost, but if that competition is not right, we will look further afield to try and make sure that we get the right opportunities to play good quality of cricket. And as for the men's, I'm not sure what the criteria is in terms of T20I prolongment, but I can definitely ask that question to ICC and find out any intelligence in terms of how we can, secure that position, because Denmark at the moment are playing 50-over cricket and obviously traveling around different parts of the world to play that cricket. So we're a little bit behind that structure, unfortunately, but that's something that I would like to get to. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, maybe just to add on top of it, in the sense, if I'm talking about just our normal club leagues, so if we can't play any ODI matches, is there a need to play the longer format at all at club level, and rather extend the T20 league on club level?
Yeah, fair point. I think that's a big picture thinking. If we're looking to just play, 20-over cricket or 50-over cricket because we're not playing it at international level, that's your question, is whether we play it at domestic level or less of it. I think that's a question that I would like to sort of ask within the office, but also if we've got a chance to qualify for the 50 overs at national level, then I would like players to be playing 50-over cricket more regularly, at domestic. However, there's nothing stopping us thinking along them lines for the coming years.
Wynan, to answer also your question, is it was up for discussion by the participants in the league forums that we just have had recently, and one of the answers that we gave there was that we were actually asking from an office perspective about 40 hours, 30 hours, and all those longer formats, and we concluded that will be included in the questionnaire, the survey that we will send out to see how each club, the opinion from each club in this matter. So it's also a factor to consider to see, is it a majority of the clubs are interested in this? And the challenge that we then have is the lack of cricket grounds and how to share the time with between women, juniors and men, and so many new clubs coming in, creating more matches to see how we can schedule everything. But we will be asking all the clubs within 2 weeks' time, I would say.
Great. Thank you very much, both Kasim and Monica.
Thanks, Reinhard. Thanks, buddy.
So now I share the screen again. So I hope you have all noted then Kasim's email address in the lower left corner.
And just sort of a parting sort of comment now for the people that are still just left on this. I would really like to thank you for sticking with me during this presentation. Hopefully it's given you an insight into not only the criteria, but obviously the work behind trying to get a successful team, and hopefully the direction that we're heading in terms of the next couple of years to get our teams being effective more regularly on a bigger platform and the work that's required. But the most important thing is, and the most important message that I would like to say is, finish off with this is it's not just about batting and bowling. If you want to play for the national team, there's obviously other factors involved, which I've highlighted on this presentation, and hopefully, you can spread the message across to your peers, your colleagues, your club members. And if there's anybody who feels that I need to come and watch somebody, or I would like you to take a particular attention or come and scout somebody, my email address is there. Please, throughout the season, if you feel that there's somebody I need to come and watch, you just need to sort of drop your email across to me. I'm more than happy to either come and watch myself, or obviously get some scouts to go and have a look in terms of where they're playing and what they're doing. Lastly, from me, this is like I said, the first of 4 or 5 webinars, hopefully throughout the year. And we're looking to trying to give information as much as possible back out to people, clubs, communities, to inspire them to hopefully and signpost them. And the next one will be on the 16th of December, looking at the women's development, and in particularly, obviously, looking at the grassroots, the leagues, the development, and then how that ties into the national program, and in particular, what we're looking for throughout our platform.
When we are talking about women development, we would love to develop female coaches and female umpires. So that's also a big ask from us, but we really want to grow on the women's side, on all roles, not only players.
Yeah, agreed. So just on that, obviously nicely timely factor, the women's, hopefully everybody on this platform so far who is left will support the women's team that are going to Spain in the next couple of days. So it's an ICC event, so hopefully we can develop that marketing and sort of understanding of what the girls are doing in Spain, and we can keep promoting their successes. So keep supporting, keep developing our women's game, hopefully by going on this tournament. I think that's my presentation done, unless anybody's got anything else to say. I'm open. I'm an open door. Please email me your questions, email me your requests or support, and I'd definitely look to support you in any shape or way that I can, personally and professionally, but also from a federation perspective.
So thank you ever so much for participating tonight, and welcome back on the 16th.
Thank you, guys. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Kasim.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kasim and Monica, for monitoring this beautiful presentation.
Thanks, Deb.